Make It With You is a #1 hit single by pop rock band Bread. It was written by David Gates, who was a member of the band. It appeared on Bread's 1970 album, On the Waters. This tutorial was requested by Chili Pepper Devereaux. This is his Facebook profile. Let me discuss first with you some terms that I'll be using in this tutorial. For the left hand fingers, let's learn or review first the basics. The strings are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These spaces are called frets. So this is first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and so on. So this whole thing is the fretboard. For a more detailed discussion about the parts of the guitar, click this link for that lesson. The left hand fingers are notated. 1 for the index finger, 2 for the middle finger, 3 for the ring finger, and 4 the small finger. This is a chord box. It is a representation of the fingerboard held upright. The vertical lines are the strings. The horizontal lines are the knot, and these fret wires. When a chord box is filled with data, then it is a diagram for a chord. This is a diagram for C major chord. The dots represent the left-hand fingertips. The number on a dot represents the finger to use. So as shown in this diagram, you have your index finger on the second string at first fret, middle finger on the fourth string at second fret, and ring finger on the fifth string at third fret. But the first string and the third strings are marked with O, so they are left open and they are part of the chord. But the sixth string has letter X next to it, so the sixth string is not part of the chord and is not to be played, so it is called dead string. So the sixth string is a dead string for C major chord. So you only strum 5 strings. Click this link for a lesson on how to read chord diagrams. The chord diagrams are usually shown vertical, which is a representation of the fretboard held vertical, like this. But we don't hold the fretboard of the guitar this way, but horizontally. So I'm going to rotate the diagram so that it aligns with the fretboard. And so the heavier line on the diagram represents the knot. And the 6 horizontal lines you see on this diagram are the strings. And this is the first, or number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And the other vertical lines are the fret wires. And this is the first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and so on. I believe rotating the chord diagrams so that it aligns the fretboard would make our reading or interpretation of the diagram easier. E major 7th chord, dot numbered 1, that's your index finger, on the 4th string at 1st fret. Dot numbered 2, that's for your middle finger, on the 3rd string at 1st fret. And dot numbered 3, that's for your ring finger, on the 5th string at 2nd fret. And this string and this one are marked with O. So these are part of the chord. So you strum all 6 strings. A major 7th, dot numbered 1, that's your index finger on the 3rd string at 1st fret. Dot numbered 2, that's for your middle finger on the 4th string at 2nd fret. Dot number 3, that's for your ring finger on the 2nd string at 2nd fret. And the first string is marked with O, so it's left open, as well as the 5th string is marked with O, so this is also left open. So these 2 strings that are marked with O are part of the chord, so you strum 5 strings. The sixth string is a dead string because it's marked with X. A major chord. You see three dots that are lined up, and those are number 2, 3, and 4. So first is the dot number 2, that's your middle finger, and it should be on the 4th string at 2nd fret. Dot number 3, that would be for your ring finger on the 3rd string at 2nd fret. And dot number 4, that's your small finger on the 2nd string at 2nd fret. And the first string is marked with O, so it's left open, as well as the 5th string is marked with O. So you have two strings that are left open, or they are part of the chord. But the 6th string is marked with X, so this is a dead string and it must not be strummed. So for A major chord, you strum 5 strings. G sharp minor. You see 4 dots that are lined up, and those 4 dots are numbered 1. So that means that would be for your index finger. And when you have a chord like that, or a diagram that shows several dots with the same number, then that means instead of using the tip of that finger, it would be the pad. Since there's no way that you can use the tip of that finger on several strings at the same time. So for G sharp minor, you will have to use the pad of your index finger to press those 4 strings. And those strings are the number 6, number 3, number 2, and number 1. And at the bottom of those dots that are lined up, you see the characters 4 FR. And that means the spaces where you have those 4 dots, that would be at 4th fret. And remember, this space is 1st fret, this is 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So those 4 dots would be at 4th fret. So all you have to do is just position your index finger across all these strings, right at 4th fret. And then dot number 3, that would be your ring finger, and it would be at 6th fret on the 5th string. So here. And dot number 4, that would be your pinky on the 4th string at 6th fret. And there are no strings that is marked with O or X. So that means all strings are played. And this is the sound of G sharp minor. F sharp minor. And here you see 4 dots, all numbered 1, and they are at 2nd fret. The heavier line, that's the knot. On the diagram, you see that on the 1st fret, there's nothing, there's no dots there. So you don't have any finger here at 1st fret. But those 4 dots are at 2nd fret, so right here. Since there are 4 numbered 1, that means you will be using the pad of your index finger, just like what we did for the previous chord, which is G sharp minor. So position your index finger at 2nd fret, pressing all 6 strings. And then the dot number 3, that's your ring finger, on the 5th string at 4th fret. So it's here. And dot number 4, that would be your pinky on the 4th string at 4th fret. You would notice that this chord diagram for F sharp minor looks exactly the same as the diagram for G sharp minor. The only difference is that the position of those fingers on the fretboard. For G sharp minor, you have your index finger at 4th fret, and the other fingers are at 6th fret. But for F sharp minor, you have your index finger at 2nd fret, and the other fingers at 4th fret. And for this song, we have this sequence, G sharp minor to F sharp minor. Since both chords have the same shape, so it helps us in transitioning between these two chords, from G sharp minor to F sharp minor. All you have to do is to slide the whole thing 2 frets down. So 1, 2. So now you're doing F sharp minor. B dominant 7th, and you see 3 dots numbered 1 at 2nd fret, and again you'll be using the pad of your index finger at 2nd fret. So all you have to do is just put your index finger across all 6 strings. And the other dots, the first one is number 3, that's your ring finger on the fourth string at fourth fret. And then the other dot numbered 4, that would be your small finger on the second string at fourth fret. So this is the shape of B dominant 7. And there is a string that is marked with an X, the sixth string. So all you have to do is just strum 5 strings. Although you have your index finger pressing the sixth string at second fret, it doesn't matter if you just strum from the fifth string. So this is B dominant 7. And B dominant 7 follows F sharp minor. So to transition from F sharp minor to B7, you would notice that you can keep your index finger as both chords have the index finger at second fret. You only have to reposition these two fingers. From F sharp minor, these two fingers are on the fifth and fourth strings respectively. So all you have to do is to transition to B dominant 7, just bring down your ring finger to fourth string and your small finger to second string. So it goes like this: F sharp minor to B dominant 7th, C sharp major, and in this diagram you see two dots, both numbered 1, one on the fifth string and one on the first string, and both dots are at fourth fret. As you can see, there's this 4FR and it refers to the fourth fret. So since you have two dots, both numbered 1, then just position the pad of your index finger across 6 strings. And then the other 3 dots, numbered 2, 3, and 4. Number 2, that would be your middle finger on the 4th string here at 6th fret. Dot number 3, that would be your ring finger on the 3rd string at 6th fret. And dot number 4, that would be your small finger on the 2nd string at 6th fret. So at 5th fret, you don't have any fingers there. So you have your index finger, the pad of your index finger at 4th fret, and the tips of these 3 fingers at 6th fret. And one string, which is the number 6, is marked with X. So you strum 5 strings from here. And this song has a sequence of G sharp minor to C sharp. And remember, this is G sharp minor. You'd notice that both chords have the index finger at 4th fret. So to transition from G sharp minor to C sharp, all you have to do is bring these 2 fingers down. Ring finger goes down to 3rd string, small finger goes down to 2nd string, and position your middle finger on the 4th string. So from G sharp minor to C sharp. B dominant 7th suspended to /E. And the diagram shows 5 dots, all numbered 1, and they are at 2nd fret. So you position the pad of your index finger across 5 strings because the 6th string is marked with O, so this must be left open, and no string that is marked with X. So strum 6 strings. So this is B dominant 7 suspended to /E. If you wondered what that /E mean, it just tells you that the bass note or the lowest note for that chord is the open E, the low E. That's what /E refers to. Because you can actually play B suspended to this way. But with /E, instead of this string sounding as the lowest note, you would have this string as the lowest note for this chord. So strum 6 strings. E major chord. Dot numbered 1, that's your index finger on the 3rd string at 1st fret. Dot number 2, that would be your middle finger on the 5th string at 2nd fret. Dot number 3, that's your ring finger on the 4th string at 2nd fret. And you have 3 strings that are left or marked with O, the 1st, 2nd, and the 6th strings. So these 3 strings that are marked with O are left open or played open, and therefore no strings that is marked with X. So you strum all 6 strings for this chord. E major chord, B major chord, and you see 2 dots, both numbered 1, and they are at 2nd fret, and they are on the 5th string and 1st string. So just position the pad of your index finger across 5 strings. Or you can actually include the 6th string. You can just position the pad of your index finger across 6 strings. But since the 6th string is marked with X, so just remember that you don't play this string. And then the other dots, dot number 2, that would be your middle finger on the 4th string at 4th fret. Dot number 3 on the 3rd string at 4th fret. And dot number 4, that would be your pinky on the 2nd string at 4th fret. So you strum 5 strings. This is B major. Now let's discuss this strumming pattern. My interpretation of the strumming pattern is this. And looking at the pattern, you would see that it's a sequence of downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke, downstroke. And to be able to follow the pattern, you will have to do 8-note counting. That means instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you would have to count with the letter N between those beat counts. The beat counts are count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's say the tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter note counting of that is 1, 2, 3, 4. But since there are strokes in between those beat counts, then we have to do 8-note counting. And that means at this tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8-note counting would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And to be able to follow the pattern, you have to be consistent at your 8-note counting. You have to count steady and even. It would be a good idea to count at a slower tempo, so you'd be able to nail down the pattern. So let's discuss the pattern in detail. We have downstroke at count 1, and then the next stroke is actually an upstroke right at count 2. But you would notice that it's followed immediately by a downstroke, which is the 3rd stroke. And that stroke happens between counts 2 and the letter N after count 2. So all you have to do is, when you get to count 2, just do a couple of upstroke and downstroke. So it's like this. When you get to count number 2, so let's count from 1. 1 and 2, there, right? 1 and 2. As I say, or as I count 2, that's when I have to do the upstroke followed by downstroke. 1 and 2. And then the next stroke, which is actually the 4th stroke, is right at N. So it's going to be like this. 1 and 2 N. And then the 5th stroke is on the letter N between counts 3 and 4. So it's going to be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 N. And then it's followed immediately by a downstroke that is between N and the next beat count, which is 4. So it's gonna be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 N, right? And then the last stroke, which is right at count 4. So it's gonna be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and there. So if I do it for 4 rounds, it's gonna sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 there. I just did 4 measures of that pattern. And if you're having difficult doing that pattern at that tempo, then slow it down. So it's gonna be like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 This pattern is a complex pattern. It's not a pattern for a beginner. But if you focus on your counting and be patient and keep practicing, you'll be able to get it done. But I have a suggestion. I have an alternative strumming pattern for this, which is easier. And it's this one. And as you can see, there are fewer strokes, 5 strokes, compared to the 7 strokes of the previous pattern. The first stroke is right at count 1. That's a quarter note stroke. And the next stroke is an upstroke right at count 2. And that's an 8th note stroke. It rings only for half a beat. And then the third stroke is a downstroke that is right on the end between counts 2 and 3. The fourth stroke is an upstroke that is between counts 3 and 4. And the last stroke is right at count 4, which is a downstroke. So if our tempo is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's gonna sound like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now this alternative pattern is an easier pattern compared to the previous one. I would suggest that you apply this alternative pattern, and when you get comfortable doing that, then that's when maybe you're ready for the harder pattern, which is the first pattern that I discussed. The key here is count steady and even, and first at slow tempo, and gradually speed up as you get familiar with the sequence of the strokes, and your right hand could follow the sequence at the right time.